Several months ago, I was in the car with my grandson, Rowan. Just him and I, which doesn't happen very often. And so I asked him about school. And he said, "Oh, I have 2 papers due." And I said, "Well, are the topics interesting?" And he said, "Grandma, the topic does not have to be interesting. You just have to ask a really good question to get people interested." I thought about that for a long time, so here goes. Have you ever had an experience with an angel on earth? My homily today is about angels and their importance in your life. The synchronicity around this topic affirmed that this is what I'm supposed to preach about today. The definition of synchronicity is events connected by deep meaning. Probably a year ago, I read the story about Peter being imprisoned and being helped to escape by an angel, and I thought, I want to research this. I want to talk about angels and the impact that they've had on my life, and what does the church feel about it? The very day when I had this thought to speak on this topic, I went to daily mass, and I saw Patty Paredes and shared with her my idea about angels. She said she'd always had an angel in her life. When she was 5 years old, she was adopted, and her dad gave her an angel. She named her Rose. Synchronicity. Her father worked abroad 3 weeks out of the month, and her father gave her that angel to protect her when he was gone. She felt comforted by this angel and knew that she would be safe. Patty says that this angel originally came from Germany and has been to New York, New Jersey, Chicago, Italy, Maryland, and now Oregon. And she is pleased to share her angel with you today. You probably know that all the deacons are assigned the 5th Sunday of the month. There were only 4 this year, and today is one of them, and it's mine. When I was assigned June, I quickly read the gospel, and I was really disappointed because it had nothing to do with angels. And Father knew that I wanted to do my talk on angels. And I was pretty upset about it, so I emailed him and I said, "Is it okay if I still do the talk on angels even though the gospel has nothing to do with angels?" He emailed back and he said, "Rose, look at the first reading." And sacredly, it was exactly the reading that I had first read that inspired me to talk about angels. Talk about sacred synchronicity. In our Catholic faith, Catechism of the Catholic Church, 2nd edition, there are approximately 10 pages on our belief about angels. A truth of our faith on page 85 states, "The existence of the spiritual non-corporeal beings that the sacred scripture usually calls angels is a truth of our faith. Christ is the center of the angelic world, and they are his angels. When the Son of Man comes in glory, and all the angels will come with him. From its beginning until death, human life is surrounded by their watchful care and intercession. Beside each believer stands an angel as protector and shepherd, leading him to life." This book is in our library, and I really recommend that you all read it. There's 10 pages. It's extremely interesting. Believing in angels for me is something you feel almost rather than experience, although I have physically experienced an angel on earth also. In Psalm 34, it says, "The angel of the Lord is encamped around those who are reverent to rescue them." The angel of the Lord is encamped around those who are reverent to rescue them. In physical therapy school, and I was going to school in San Francisco, and for Easter break, I drove down to San Diego and took my friend Patricia from school with me. On the way back in Central Valley, it looked like a horrible storm. And as we got closer, we realized it was a dust storm. So I was in the fast lane, and I slowed to 65 miles an hour. There was a man standing in the middle of the road with flashlights, waving his arms like this. And as soon as I saw him, I went from the fast lane into the median by the guardrail in my little Volkswagen. I passed 5 or 6 cars. Needless to say, Patricia was hysterical, but I knew I had to get out of the car and warn the guy standing in the middle of the road. I couldn't get out my door because it didn't open far enough. So I crawled over my friend and I got out her door, and I ran back, and there was a policeman standing there on the side of the road trying to guide cars. And I said, "You have to warn the man with the flashlights, he's going to get killed." And he put his hand on my shoulder and he said, "There is no man standing in the middle of the road with flashlights. And young lady, you are going to get killed. Get back in your car." I turned around to go back to my car, and he said, "By the way, good maneuvering with your car." As we got going 2 hours later, there had been many, many injuries, but there was not a scratch on my car. There is no doubt in my mind that I was rescued by an angel that day. Chapter 12 in the Acts of the Apostles, 6-11, is the story of Peter, who was put in prison by King Herod. On the night before his trial, an angel appeared to him and told him to leave. Peter's chains fell off, and he followed an angel out of the prison. Thinking it was a vision, the prison doors opened, and the angel led Peter out of the city. The more I thought about a tie-in with the gospel, angels, Peter and the rock, the more confused I became. Often when Father or Bishop Jim starts his homily, he'll say something about his mom or his dog or something. And I often will be sitting in the congregation going, how is he going to tie this into the gospel? Well, he always does. But I couldn't think of anything. Nothing, no clue. So, I'm going to borrow Bishop Jim's thoughts. In Matthew 16:18 it says, "And I say to you, you are Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of the netherworld will not prevail against it." This means that no evil can resist Christ and the church. Whenever you and I try to share the gospel, do a good deed for a friend, or give to a stranger, the netherworld will not prevail. Jesus in his death and resurrection has won, and we do not need to fear the netherworld or the evil one. God sends his angels to guide and protect us, like God used angels to rescue Peter from the prison. Therefore, as it says in Ephesians 6, put on the armor of God, that you may be able to resist on the evil day. Part of that armor is an angel protecting you. So, the question, have you ever had an experience with an angel on earth? It doesn't have to be obvious protection from a car accident. In fact, there are probably many times in your life the protection came without your knowledge. Leaving the house 10 minutes late to avoid an accident, or getting to the doctor in time to get on an antibiotic or get a diagnosis that saves your life. We all have guardian angels. We all have our own guardian angel. Beside each believer stands an angel as protector and shepherd leading him to life. Never stop praying, especially for others. Always pray by the power of the Spirit. Stay alert and keep praying for God's people. And say thank you to your guardian angel.